Good evening. I'd like to call to order this, the regular town council meeting for Tuesday, February 22nd, 2022. Please rise for a moment of silence. The Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of
America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Allenson.
Here.
Carmody.
Here.
Fishbein. Laffin.
Here.
Marone.
Here.
Tata.
Here.
Testa.
Here.
Zandri. And Chairman Cervoni.
Here. May I have a motion on the consent agenda, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve or accept consent agenda items A through G and H as amended.
Second.
Moved and seconded. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the consent agenda passes. While we did make 3 appointments on the consent agenda, I don't see any of those people here. So moving on to, item 4, there's no items removed from consent. Item 5, the public question and answer period. Don't all the Bob Grosses stand up at once? Mr. Sanders, name and address for the record, please.
Joe Sanders, 43 Piper Drive, Wallingford. Chairman, board members, elected officials, thanks for taking time in your meeting for question and answer. It's a delicate balance to be transparent and to still do business. So hopefully I don't derail any of that. A couple days ago, I was trapped at home. It was snowing. So I look outside and there's this big gray truck go by. And I thought back to the 2020 decision to provide the funds for a truck for Public Works. That was really well spent. Public Works, you know, it's like clockwork. There's never a problem with snow, at least where I live. And it's not just because Vinny used to live there, because he doesn't live there now. So, you know, I mean, they do a great job. And I think that the fact that we can, as a town, focus on things that aren't urgent fires that have to be put out and demand constant attention. Those do come up, but Wallingford's not consumed by those, and I think that that's a credit to the town, to the folks who run it, to the staff, and it's great. So I encourage you to continue to do that. I don't know what the truck cost. It was during COVID. I think it's money well spent. And hopefully the folks in Public Works, it probably feels pretty thankless some days. I appreciate that. I think that they do a good job with the resources you've given them. I was thinking too that saw the Record Journal mention that the animal shelter has passed re-inspection for the state. I was glad to hear that. I hope that you all have heard some really great things about that because it was quite a topic of debate in town. And I'd like to think that it was folks who care deeply about the subject and not simply because there was an election. But just judging solely by record letters to the Record Journal and the online, I haven't seen a peep about it. Again, good thing for town. If you don't hear much about it, hey, you're in good company. There's a lot of other folks that have gone through that. But it is good to see and would encourage you as you talk about really important decisions, ARPA funds and all the other things. In all of the things out there, the places in town that use the money well continue to invest in them and support them and work together to find what those are. So again, on both decisions, I think the town council has done a great job of supporting things that are working well in town. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Gross.
Bob Gross, Long Hill Road. Mayor's not here tonight, so I have a question. I had a question about how the Facebook page or the internet is going for the police department. Question though, if the town council want to have a Facebook page or a presence on the internet, do you have to go through the mayor for it? Or are you allowed to do it on your own?
I suspect we could do it on our own. We just need some cooperation from the administration about some web space or something like that, and whether or not it would require funding, but not minimal, minimal cooperation would be required.
But if you want to do a Facebook page just to announce your meetings, what's going on, ARPA money, whatever, would you need the mayor's approval?
I believe not.
Okay, so I'm just wondering, police station, you know, police department, because I know, most towns, police departments, a lot of departments have their own Facebook page or Instagram or any of the other type of things to get in contact with the community. So it would be just nice to see. Speaking of ARPA, I know you had your meeting. Is it moving along? Where's it go from here?
I know the vice chairman had sent out an email, was it yesterday or today, looking to schedule the next meeting, and I know there's another meeting coming up.
So who has the authority then to spend the money? If the council says, we're going to do Project A, and it's an infrastructure for the town, say it's to take care of town hall, internet, and you approve $500,000 for that, can the mayor say, I don't want to spend that money, or once you say it's spent, is it spent?
So we're looking for some guidance from the law department about how the ultimate result occurs. So at this point, I'm not comfortable answering that question.
So do you have an estimated ETA of when that will be decided upon? Because you guys can't do anything till you decide who has authority to spend the money.
I believe we're hoping to have it before the next committee meeting, am I
That
right?
committee meeting is when?
Next week.
Oh, it hasn't decided on a date yet. Okay. It will be in here or online again? Either or.
I don't think that's been determined yet either.
Okay. And I know you guys are paying attention to what other communities are doing, so I would just hope, there's been some saying on how you have to document dot every I, cross every T, but you know, the first 10 million, you can pretty much have free will in how you spend that money. So for projects for the town or something that you thought might be a little questionable, internet, whatever, which it isn't questionable, but you have $10 million of free money to spend for the benefit of the town. So I would hope that something happens sooner than later. And I'm sure many people do, and some people are nodding up here. And I know you guys are going to work on this really fast and diligently. Let's hope the administration will work as quick. Thank you.
Thank you.
Nobody else?
Are you sure there's nobody else? I mean,
You,
you positive? No, go ahead.
I don't care. I don't know if anybody can answer the question or not. Maybe the controller can. Has the parking lots gone out to bid for the Wooding Kaplan yet? Because Mayor said it was going to. Has it?
I don't know.
I don't see anything out there on it. I was just wondering, because we're coming in, next week's March, and now oil's hitting $98 a barrel, probably not going to go down much for the immediate future. But somebody mentioned it, I think, at one of the meetings, wasn't me, that you can, I think it might have been Councilor Zandri, that the money from ARPA, you can spend that if the mayor says, we don't want to do the lots because they're too much money. The ARPA money can be spent that way, or the difference between the two can be spent that way. The mayor did promise last year that these lots would be done all together, and he didn't hold up his end, so hopefully the council will get those lots done. Thank you.
All right, there being no other takers, I close the public question and answer period and move on to item 6, which is discussion and possible action regarding the Wallingford Board of Education Information Technology Employees Contract, July 1, 2021 through June 30th of 24. If you would be so kind as to pull up a microphone and remind us who you are for the record.
Good evening, everyone. Danielle Belizzi, Superintendent, Wallingford Public Schools.
Good evening. I'm Fran Thompson, the Assistant Superintendent for Personnel.
Good evening, thank you. So the IT unit is the first one up for discussion. If you could just hit the salient points for us.
So we're grateful for for the negotiations that took place. They were very cordial, and
If you
came to
might
a-
want to get a little closer to the microphone.
I'm sorry. So
Thank you.
we're very grateful for the negotiation that took place with our members of the Board of Education that were on the negotiating team and the membership of the IT union. It was cordial and it was very expeditious. And so the salient point is the general wage increase for all 3 years of this contract, which will be a 3-year contract, retroactive from July 1st, 2021. It's a 1.95% general wage increase for each year. The health savings deductibles remained stable at, with a premium cost share of 14% for the first 2 years of the contract, and then up a percent to 15% on the third year, the final year of the contract. And generally, the rest of the contract, the language was pretty much stayed the same. So we're very grateful for the work that was done on both sides.
Thank you. Any questions about these contracts from the council? Counselor Allenson.
Sorry, something I forgot to ask. So in Article 2.1, replacing Section 2.2, employee may become a member of the union or not commencing on the 30th day following the execution of this agreement, or the 30th day following their employment, whichever comes first. I was actually wondering, it seems like that is something that the union itself might not want in there? Because is this giving them the ability to leave the union after this is executed? If they want?
Right.
Yeah.
This is all part of that Janus language that we have to follow and
Okay.
the law that came out of that. So it's just codifying some of the language that goes with it.
Okay.
And so
all
what
right.
we did was we used 2.1 to really replace Section 2.2, just to clean up the language and tighten it up a little bit. And it was agreed upon on
Awesome.
both sides. Yep.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Members of the public? All right, and this will go into effect in what, 20 days if we take no action to stop that? Okay, thank you. Moving on to item 7, which is regarding the managers union, which is, again, July 1, 2021 through June 30th, 24, right?
Yes.
And once again, if you could let us know what that's all about.
Very similar in that it's a 3-year contract through June 30th, 2024. Also with this unit, a 1.95% general wage increase for all 3 years. Their premium cost share percentage was higher, and so we negotiated that from 20% this current year to 20.5% in the second year and 21% in the third year. The language hasn't changed much, and there was just some language about as they retire, whether or not they would choose to stay on the health care and assume the costs. But that was really it. It was it's a small unit, so we were able to negotiate this in a very, very quick amount of time.
All 2 of them,
All 2 of them.
All two.
They're, yes,
okay? Questions regarding this
both
contract?
good people.
Anything from the public? And just like the last contract, at some point, this will go into effect
thing.
without our help. All right, thank you very much.
Thank you both,
Thank
thank you all for your time. Appreciate it.
Have a great evening. Thank you.
Thank you for my name tag.
Moving on to item 8, can I have a motion, please?
Mr. Chairman, I move we approve the creation of a traffic signalization improvement project using reimbursement LOCIP program grant funds in the amount of $500,000.
Moved. I heard a second from Councilor Tata. Good evening, Mr. Baltramitis. If you could remind us why you're here. What is it you do for us?
Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I am the Public Works Director, Rob Boltramitis, for your record. Yeah, this is pretty simple. So we are looking to create a capital project to upgrade several town traffic signals. Town of Wallingford actually owns, maintains, operates 29 of its own traffic signals. 10 of them are on state highways. We haven't rebuilt one really in decades. Most of this is very aging infrastructure. Most of it installed in the early 90s, the other part of it in the late 80s. So some of this stuff is 30, 40 years old. If you're driving through town and it's not a state traffic light.
I think they need you to get closer to the mic.
Will do. If you're driving through town and it's not a state traffic light, if it's in flash, we get that call. I come in first. If I can't solve it, I have a vendor who'll come in and do it. It's becoming more and more frequent. Some of the equipment that we obviously want to replace is the stuff that's exposed to the elements. It's the signal heads, it's the pedestrian heads, pedestrian push buttons. There's electrical cables out there, all exposed to the weather, sun, etc. Probably most important is vehicle detection. We've all been at a light and wondering why it won't turn green for us. With vehicle detection is broken on a side street approach, the default operation is to hold that green for a very long setting, and then it finally releases and allows you to go. So that's one of the things that we'll repair under this is a lot of broken vehicle detections. The new technology is actually to get away from the saw cuts in the pavement that you see and go to video camera detection. A lot more foolproof. So again, this is a $500,000 project based on some bidding that we've done recently. We'll probably get about 8 of our 29 signals done under this. We look to obviously pick the ones that are the most problematic for us and the most aged, if you will, and go from there. So LoCIP is Local Capital Improvement Program. It's by the State of Connecticut Office of Policy and Management. We're looking to use $500,000 of town funds to be 100% reimbursed back to us for this. You guys actually see LoCIP funding in Cap Non sometimes. So what we will do, and I don't want to go too far down this road, but if let's just say the Cap Non is $1.8 million, we might list about $3 million worth of projects and show LoCIP coming in as a capital project to be reimbursed. So it's not part of what the electric division pilot gives us. The reason I'm here now, instead of in a couple months under budget, is this is really a project that we want to get your authorization to, yes, this is a good capital project, let's use this LoCIP money for this and move forward. As a legislative body, that action is required by OPM, and that's why I'm here.
Yep. So obviously, we've recently heard some complaints about traffic signals, and this money is certainly a good fit for those improvements. We have questions from the council. Councilor Marone.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. So, Rob, just to get an idea, so we have 29 locations. How many of those need maintenance, do you estimate?
As far as needing replacement,
right.
Eventually, over the next couple of years, essentially all of them.
Okay.
The good news is, right now, we have a project that you have funded through Cap Non-Recurring. We're replacing 4 traffic signals out on South Turnpike, so that's at Cook Hill Road, Cheshire Road, Masonic Ave opposite the Route 15 ramps, and also at River Road. The other good news is the state of Connecticut is replacing for us 4 more of our town intersections adjacent to the railroad as part of a railroad preemption safety project. So there's 8 of the 29, so 21. If we can get another 8 more, we're down to 13 left over the next couple of years to look how to fund and replace.
So the 100,000 that's in the Cap and Non, that's going to be the totality to pay for the 4 that you're working on right now?
That is a portion of it.
Okay.
We're also using some other state money similar to a LoCIP program. Okay. So, whenever we get the ability, of course, to, apply for these grants, we do.
So just as a general question, though, so if we own 29, there has to be a lot more than 29 traffic signals in town.
Yeah.
Who owns the balance of them?
The state of Connecticut.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. What's ironic here in Wallingford is, like I said, we actually own 10 traffic signals that are on state highways. It's not a common thing for municipalities to own them. We do. I can do a deep dive into why we do it, but the simple reason is we have what's called a closed-loop traffic signal system, where those locations actually communicate back to our office, to a computer, so we can see what's going on real time. We can implement changes. And what we found over decades is if we're doing that, we could be a little more efficient than the state could in Newington.
So, all right, so now I'm getting like, drawing bigger picture. So that means that the electricity for the traffic signals that we own are paid for by us then, right?
Correct.
And so the state would pay the electricity for the ones that they own?
They do, but if they're at a commercial plaza that's owned by a developer, landowner, they often try to, they'll get the landowner to pay for it. But otherwise, yeah, they're paying for the power consumption at their locations.
Okay. So, all right, so, and then what do you think would cost to do the whole project? Like, if you want to do all 29, which is the plan eventually?
And I think the four intersections I mentioned along South Turnpike, they're all of the age that kind of represents all 29 locations. And that project cost was about $250,000 for 4 locations. So that's about $62,000 per intersection. Now, for what it's worth, that's not replacing every component that's out there. It's replacing a lot of what's exposed to the elements and where the wear and tear is. A brand new signal installation is in the $200,000 ballpark.
Okay, and is most of this work done in-house or by a vendor?
By a vendor.
Okay. Yep. Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman.
Counselor Tata?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Hi, just one question. You mentioned the sensors and video sensors. Is that just for sensors to tell when to change the light, or are there going to be like video surveillance that the police will
absolutely.
use?
None of this, and it's a great question, because when you install a camera, people automatically assume that it's all of a sudden it's enforcement,
Right.
and this is not. In fact, the cameras that we use for video detection are not capable of the enforcement component.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Counselor Testa?
This is a little off track, just because I have you here. Do you know of any current status of the state's plans to widen the area of Route 5 where Sam's Fruit Stand used to be, but still there?
I am not aware. I haven't heard any talk
Okay.
of that in years.
I know,
It's been studied a bunch of times, hasn't it?
yeah, I mean, when I first got on the council, there were still trolley tracks there, but the plan was put before us. They had a heck of a beautiful plan, but they couldn't access that land because it was owned, quote unquote. But then that has changed over time. But I thought about a year or two ago, within the last couple of years, I thought we received notification that the state was taking another look at it, but I don't know if anyone remembers. But
Yeah,
I
no,
figured
that's why I say.
if you were here, I wasn't sure if I wanted to ask you,
No, I mean,
have you been approached?
So, clearly, before my moving over to Public Works, being in engineering for almost 20 years, I mean, I've seen that location and really the whole area, Route 5, Route 15, Yale Avenue, study after study. I mean, at some point, we got to move from doing study, and it's not the town doing the study, it's the state or it's the region. At some point, we're just going to move to the next phase and go into design. It's been studied enough times.
Is it possible that maybe your office could just inquire
I can absolutely.
and say, hey, what's going on with this thing? We'd really like to see it move forward. It's getting in the way of a lot, and it's just a nightmare of a bottleneck, as we all know.
Yeah, no, I can absolutely reach out to the
Whenever. Thank you.
to the right people about that. You're welcome.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
But isn't that typically more the town engineer's role? Am I mistaken? Or,
Well, it's usually, I mean, the answer is yes. Yeah, but coming from engineering, I know those same people.
no doubt. Any other questions from the council? Questions from the public? There being none, Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Allenson?
Yes.
Carmody?
Yes.
Laffin?
Yes.
Marone?
Yes.
Tata?
Yes.
Testa?
Yes.
And Chairman Cervoni.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody. Have a good night.
Thank you. There being no further business on the agenda, a motion to adjourn is appropriate.
So moved.
Anyone want to second that?
Second.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, I declare the meeting adjourned.
Great tension. That's a good call.
Can't close the meeting.